Welcome fellow bearers of the curse. This is sadly the final part of my Dark Souls 2 in-depth lore through mini-series. This mini-series served as a Christmas present to you guys during the festive season, and I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope you enjoy this final entry. Please remember to like, and if you are new, subscribe. I will now hand you over to myself. So I say again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Welcome back fellow bearers of the curse. Hope you're all doing okay today, and I hope you had an especially very merry Christmas. Of course, this is being uploaded on the 26th of December for any of those who tune in after its release, and this is the third and final part of my Dark Souls 2 in-depth lore through miniseries. This was my Christmas special and present to you guys during the holiday season, and you may notice something different from the previous episodes. My character, he is wearing some interesting looking armour, and for those who've played this game you'll know that this armour is the Ivory King set, and it is rather annoying to require. You have to obtain 50 of a certain something, so the farming is long, it's tedious, and yeah, it's something you only do once, or at least I'll only ever do this once. Well, I've done this a few times, but this is probably the last time I ever do it. The Lois Soul is what you have to obtain, and you get these from defeating a certain burnt type of Lois Knight in a certain boss arena. I'm not going to jump the gun and spoil anything or describe anything, as we are very much encountering, we are very much discussing lore as we encounter it on my previous character. I'm just going to give you a taste and hint as to what can be acquired later in this game for those of you who may have not played Dark Souls 2 or may have not yet got that far into it. Now this set is a part of the third DLC. Eliam Lois was the last DLC to release during the vanilla game, but of course with Scholar of First Sin you can play the DLCs in whichever order you like, as long as you've got the keys to get into them. But we'll read the soul that we had to acquire. I had to acquire 50 of in order to trade them in and get this armour. Soul of the Knights of Lois. The Knights of Lois were taken by chaos and lost all sense of purpose and being. The few woeful souls that trudged back home were guided by some faint vestige of self. This soul is pure sorrow, and only Alsana can put it to rest. Now Alsana, if I'm saying that right, Alsana, however you pronounce that name, right? Potato, we know what I'm like with words. She is, or was, the wife of the Ivory King, and she was a child of Dark, a fragment of Manus, a spawn of Manus, much like Nashandra is, or was, as this character is on New Game Plus, or New Game Plus Plus, I can't remember. And Nashandra, you've heard me mention that name in the previous two episodes, is of course the wife of King Vendrick, and again, naming that name and her being a child of Dark is jumping the gun lore-wise, but just to give a bit of context onto the Ivory King and his relations and his history. But this is not the set that I wear on this character. My favourite set... Oh, sorry, I'm losing my voice. My favourite set in the entire game is the Drakekeeper set. It is absolutely incredible. I love this set when I can find it. As you can see, I've got lots and lots of stuff. The Drakekeeper sword, most of you'll know, is an especially hard to get sword due to farming and the fact that the Drakekeepers, the fact that Dark Souls 2 has a mechanic when enemies are slain a certain amount of times, they will not respawn. It's to help players get through the area and eventually overcome the obstacle that they face. So this is my usual look. It's just incredible. Onyx. And for those of you who know Hyde or played this game, you have the old, what they call the old Knight Helm, and it's very reminiscent of the Drakekeepers. So that ties Vendrick, Hyde and Dragon Ares' purpose or past all together. But again, we're jumping the gun, and I will return to my other character just shortly. I just thought I'd show this off because he's a damn good looking character. But we'll read the lore, of course. Giant Onyx Helmet. Something dark indeed eats away at the Drake Keepers, eternal guardians of the shrine. I wonder what it could be when it mentions dark. Could it be abyss, humanity? Really, really interesting. Dark Souls 2 has some fascinating lore. It's very deep though. It is very deep. And you'll see I have the Lightning Dragon Chime. I mentioned this last episode because I believe I saw a phantom with it on their hip. A sacred chime shaped as a dragon, a catalyst for miracles and hexes. This chime sat long in the dark chasm, but still one senses a sublime purity, and those with the deepest faith can wield this chime, but they will be rewarded with greatly amplified spells. Now of course I have the Drake Keeper set. I have a dragon chime that sat in a dark chasm. The Drake Keeper set is onyx, and the description says that something dark, how did it word it? Something dark eats away at it. Further connections between possibly Dragonary, Drakes, and the Abyss, and humanity. Jumping the gun here. And of course my weapon of choice is the Great Sword. It would be the Drake Keeper's sword. I have got some of the Drake Keeper weapons, the Ultra Great Sword and the axe, but unfortunately I haven't got the Drake Keeper's sword to drop for me, and I've just been maining with the Ultra Great Sword, the Gut Sword. For those who played Berserk, this will look very familiar, and it is indeed a reference. It's a beautiful weapon, and it was my first weapon I ever used when playing this game all those years ago, after I discovered it in No Man's Wharf, as that was the original place you could find it. I'm not sure if you can still find it there in this game. Well, in this version, Scholar of the First Sin, I forgot. But it's beautiful, and you can see I've got Great Lightning Spear, Normal Lightning Spear, Sunlight Blade, and Heavenly Thunder. I'm a badass. For those of you interested in my specs or my stats, there they are. Nothing too fancy, but anyway, enough showing off. We shall return to E and B. Mr. Epic Name Bro, Mr. Marcus. And I will say I've changed him slightly. He won't be the same as could be seen last episode, or he's not the same. I've leveled him up, and I did that for a certain reason, because I've not shown off the mechanic yet. I've talked about it, but I've not shown it off. So here he is. He's now just Mr. Pantsman, and he's got 2 broadswords. And because I meet the requirements to power stance, I believe you need to have 150% of whatever the required stats of the weapon are. So you hold the same type of weapon in both of your hands, and you hold Y or triangle, and here we go. This is the power stance, and with the power stance you can do some funky things, so we'll show the difference. So this is R1, and in power stance this is R1, exactly the same. But if you notice, if I L2 in power stance, I do a really cool attack, whereas if I'm out of power stance in L2, it's different. It's just the standard one-handed heavy attack. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. The only thing I will say is about power stancing is I don't actually like the stance you take. I prefer the swords down at your side. I just think it looks more cooler. At least with my get-up at the minute, having no, pulling the whole Kylo Ren look that I've got going on. I just think that looks worse than that. Do you know what I mean? So I've still got the buckler. Oh, have I? Where is it? He says, for parrying, because you can't parry when in parry stance. You can't parry when in power stance. You do the unique strong attack, the X factor as I'll call it. If I come out power stance, of course I just do a heavy attack instead. So keep the shield on, and we're all good. Now we'll commune with some of the NPCs. I have mistakenly spoke to Morlin and missed out some new dialogue. We'll see his situation has changed and he's perked up a bit, so we'll go speak to him again. But first we'll speak to Melentia. She has moved from the fort.
Oh, you again? Go on, it's on the cheap for you.
She loves it, the old hag. So inventory is the same, although she now sells unlimited life gems. Excellent.
Everyone's so stingy around here. Everyone's so stingy everywhere. You're my only customer. Don't make me beg. Now buy something.
I love also the detail. I've never noticed that. She's got a bell hanging from her hermit home. And it makes perfect sense. If someone tried to pinch her pack, she would hear it. You know? And also it may gain people's attention as she approaches. But I don't know, with hands like those, I'm not sure I want people looking at me. But again, we speculated about her hands and the questionable dark aura in the first episode, so I won't rehash any subjects as I want to get diving right in.
We call this place Medulla. Not too special if you ask me. It's just the place where everyone seems to end up. Everyone's so stingy around here. Everyone's so stingy everywhere. You're my only customer.
So if we leave, she should give us something, or I might have to initiate the conversation again.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah, I think if I talk to her again.
And a poor old woman. We call this place not too it's just that everyone's.
Okay, I thought she gave us. I thought she was going to give us something.
Lonely.
Never mind. I thought she was gonna give us the Covetous Ring, Silver Covetous Ring +1, where you gain more souls upon an enemy's defeat. But never mind. We won't speak with Emerald Herald because I've already spoken to her to level up, and it's just, as we know, bear seek lest. Again, we won't speak to. I've got Morlin on the brain, Leningrast. We'll definitely go speak to Morlin, but not Leningrast, as I've already spoke to him to upgrade my new broadsword.
Look at our new neighbours. How they fret over all and sundry. Oh, those were better days. Ah, dear me. It really takes me back. You may notice symbols. These, may you find peace on.
And yep, just the same dialogue as before. Now, for this episode, I kind of want to be going into the pits. I just want to go and do a bit of junk diving. I want to go to the gulch, or try and make it to the gulch anyway. I don't know, this pit is just pulling me into it. I was thinking about going to the Shaded Woods, but due to how that's kind of laid out and the branching path that you reach at a certain point, you know, there's two. I kind of wanted to keep things linear, and I think the pit does a better job at that, because I'll be too busy. I'll be too tempted to navigate the other paths when we reach a certain point in the Shaded Woods, and that may spawn another 10,000 conversations and many other tangents and other subjects that we won't unfortunately be able to reach yet during this playthrough. But we would of course meet two NPCs, one being Ben Hart from Jugo, and the other being the pyromancer, the apprentice to that fella which I've forgotten the name of, who purposely lost her. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to go down to the pit. Enough talking about it, let's just do it. There's a ghost there jumping down. And we see Morlin. He's got a bit of a... He looks a bit more chirpy. And of course he's now decided to sit on a chair. So we speculated why he sat on the floor, and maybe it was trying to tell the player that he has fallen on hard times due to sitting on a hard surface, but things are going better for him. As I said, I've already spoke to him once, so we may not get a repeat of that dialogue.
Forget to buy something? Go ahead, take your time.
We'll speak to him because he may repeat it, but he essentially says that things are going better, things are going well, and he's got some customers, and it's on the up and up. I mean, he's quite surprised by it. He's quite taken back. But if you were to continue with this game and buy more items from Morlin, you would see his personality change again, and it's quite sad. He goes from one extreme to the other.
Did I mention before that, well, I'm not from these parts? I was on a journey and somehow ended up here. The desolation here was disenchanting at first, but over time, things started to turn my way. Yeah, I've got a good few regulars now. They're all strangely desperate and quite willing to pay a premium. Sadly, some of them never come back, but I try not to think about it.
So yeah, just really confirming what I've just said. He's got a few customers, but bless him, he's concerned about them, and some of them don't return again. We never see these customers. Could that be an element of the old timey-wimey, the old bonfire side chat? Time is convoluted. Drangleic sits upon Lorethrough, and so time, as I said, is distorted in this land.
Have you seen that warrior lugging that giant blue sword about? I'm no expert, but that appears to be a fine specimen. The monstrous thing has a peculiar design, quite unlike anything found in Volgan. If you should speak to him, would you ask him if he won't sell it? I'd have to take another look, but I'm confident I could offer quite a price.
And the sword or individual he's referencing is Benhart, who I mentioned before, who we would meet if we were to take the Shaded Woods route. And that sword in question, it's got a bit of history to it. And Morlin isn't the only character who has dialogue on that sword. And that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say on that subject.
I considered returning to my homeland, but I've decided to stay a while longer. I've started to turn a handsome profit now, and I can't bear to give it up.
So, Mr. Morlin, what do you have for me, sir? He sells the Elite Knight set, and that's about it. So we'll read it. Helmet made of Braden steel, or Braden. This is also something I was going to bring up yesterday. I thought it may mention it in the Drangleic set that we acquired, but it didn't. There is a certain type of metal that Vendrick acquired, discovered, copied, and made his army's armor out of. That was a bit of a potential tongue twister. I had to take that one slow. And I can't remember if the steel originates from the east, or the type of, sorry, not steel, the type of ore was used from, or used and found from the east, or was used from a past kingdom, like the Old Iron King has some involvement there. But yeah, lore around metal definitely exists in this game. I can't remember exactly what the name of the metal is, or exactly what the lore is, but it's pretty interesting. Yeah, I just remember that. And I can't remember if it is Braden or Braden steel. Anyway, provides sturdy defense, making it an old-time favourite for elite knights. Braden steel is used by... Oh god, I do this thing. I'm sorry. I do this thing where I don't read on and I answer my own question. And I've done it again. Braddon steel is used widely in Drang Lake. This fine alloy is made from ores mined in the Southern Kingdom. So there it is. I answered my own question, and as I said, there's more on this steel, this type of alloy. There's more on it, and it's a copycat, I believe, of a pre-existing alloy or metal that was used by a former ruler, a former kingdom. Yeah, and Vendrick sought to copy it, which he did, and the best he could come up with was this Braden or Braddon steel. And as we know, as Dark Souls players, if you played 1, this Elite Knight set is found in the Darkroot Garden and is worn by elite nobles, elite knights, elite nobles, however it's worded, from Astora. Oscar wore this set, and it can be acquired from Darkroot Garden near the Moonlight Butterfly.
Always open for business.
I have got a bottle of beer. Today we are drinking Star of Pramen. It is a Prague beer, lovely stuff. If you can get it, and you're old enough, of course, definitely do try it out. We know what I'm like with words. I did call it Strapperman, and I remember asking a bartender once, "Can I have a pint of Strapperman?" She gave me a very weird look. Yeah, embarrassing. But me and my mate call it Stormtrooper. Don't ask me why, it's just easier to say than Star of Pramen for me. I may even be saying that name wrong, so we'll just call it Stormtrooper. Anyway, tangent aside, who cares what I'm drinking? We are going to go into the pit, as I said. Now, to lessen the blow, because Dark Souls 2's fall from height damage is horrendous, as we've seen. You've seen me take many damage from falling from not even that much of a height. You can lessen the blow from purchasing this ring, which you read in episode 1. So, Shalqua.
Oh. Who are you? No, you do have a rather
Yes, my smell. I do smell. What I do smell of, we don't know. Probably due to this green aura emitting, due to this ring. Again, I spoke about this. I hate this effect found on the Chloranthy ring in this game. And it's not too much. It's not really that better in the first. But anyway, we need 13k to buy the Silver Cat ring, which reduces damage from falling. So we shan't be doing that. We spoke about these rings in episode 1. We were speaking with Shaliqua for quite a while, actually.
Did you see that oddly formed rock behind here? Long ago they called it Victor's Stone, as I recall. If you wish to face greater challenges, speak to the rock. Although, you'd just as well not. Nothing suited you. Well, that's dismissed.
I already did, and I was already part of that covenant, and we left. Right, remember we spoke with Kale. He gifted us the mansion key. So we'll read that. I think we read it last episode, but we shall read it again. Did he? Yes, house key, sorry. Key to the abandoned house in Majula, received from Kale the cartographer. In the past, Majula served as a dumping ground for horrible things, but is now a gathering place for those with no better place to go. It seems this house in Majula was the final home for a few such souls. So really interesting. And I've not done this on purpose, but this dumping ground is where we'll be venturing in. So this pit predates Majula, or at least these structures. We can see, we spoke about these structures, but to talk about them again, we can see they are made of different brick from the fortifications, or presumably fortifications. And due to these so-called fortifications being in bad nick, we can theorise that they're older than these houses. But again, these houses are also not looking in good health, and we speculated about their roof and the fact that the wooden roofs may be a replacement for stone roofs that may have once been there, and that the manor that we are yet to enter may have been destroyed or not finished. Perhaps the war with the giants started upon, well, when it was near completion. But the fact that this is known as a dumping ground is really interesting. And then people decided to come here and live here and work here. We see blacksmiths based out of where Leningrad is, and of course here. And that's interesting. I've never really put two and two together how this house goes actually back into the cliff there, into the rock. I've never really put two and two together. I don't know why. But then that brings into question, how long has the obelisk been here, and what did that mean? Presumably it was put here perhaps to honour the fallen knights and infantrymen and warriors and men of the War with the Dragons. So, the War with the Dragons, that's Dark Souls 1, sorry. We're at the War with the Giants. And that may explain why the town was created. People were displaced due to the war, and it's not too far away from the fort, so protection is there, and they can run back to the fort if Majula is laid. Well, if I can't think of the way to phrase these words. I swear I'm getting worse by the day. I don't know if I have something growing on my brain or something. I know I shouldn't really joke about that, but I'm being serious. It's getting worse, guys. I don't know what it is, and it's not because I've had a few drinks. Anyway, I don't know if Majula was attacked, or the people moved here in fear of, if they were attacked, they could just run to the fort and gain shelter pretty quickly. But as we know, the fort wasn't so lucky either, and it seems Majula outlived the fort and is in much better nick. But anyway, so yeah, the pit, I believe, was here first. It was used as a dumping ground. So then that begs the question, how long these have been here. Did these predate the structures we see around Majula? Or were these a fairly recent addition alongside the houses? Just interesting thought to think about. When did these come into play, and when were these placed here? Were these placed here to be thrown into the pit, or were these unearthed and taken from the pit and placed here? If you've played the game, you'll know that we can find these further down the rabbit hole we go. So presumably someone found these and put them up here as they are placed and stood up, with one knocked down, of course, so that could be due to wind. We can see a placement of where it once stood, actually, if that is what that is, and not just a kind of texture in the mud. So it may have once stood there, implying that whoever put it here thought it was important, and thought whoever this is important. So does the state of these statues and how they're placed and set up right, other than that one of course, relate to the other ones we find in the pit? Because as we'll see, there's others that shoot poison, and that implies a lot. And as I said in episode 1, I speculated around these statues and spoke about people's theories to do with these statues. And if we actually get up close, we can see they're huge. I mean, look how big they are. This is no mere feat. This is quite the effort that's gone into carving them. And I don't know if that's a texture there, or if that's lettering. To me, that looks like lettering due to how it's structured. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. Do we see these letters or lines anywhere else? No. And if we look at that texture, it looks very similar to me. In my mind's eye, I'll have to refresh my memory, so as soon as we walk upon the Victor Stone, I may just completely correct myself, but I don't know. I can kind of see this in the texture of this of these statues. So is this writing? Or is it just a texture? If I get too close with the binoculars, it will blur the image, so I have to find like the right spot. Do you see? They are raised. It's raised off the surface. It's not engraved. So maybe it is engraved. It might just be due to the lighting. I think this one's better to look at. That's the better view there on the one that's laying down. It does look like lettering, doesn't it? Something to think about. I'll have to see as we descend into Alice in Wonderland. Sorry, because I'm using my Pro Controller, I mentioned this in previous episodes or in one of my Undead Pilgrimages. And if you're watching this and not watched that, that is my Dark Souls 1 Lorethrough. And that is not a mini-series, that is the full game, released every Sunday. I usually live stream it on a Sunday, but sometimes it's pre-recorded. Anyway, my Pro Controller, if you hold the button on a funny angle, it won't register, causing me to kind of zoom in and out as it decides what to do. Anyway, point being, these statues I will look at and assess as we go down and see if their base is muddied as well, because if it isn't and it's smooth on the base and more clear, we might be able to decipher if it is text or it is just a bumpy and raised texture, you know? But it's definitely different to everything else we see on the statue. Like everything else is kind of rounded off, smooth, long, long drawn out carvings, and this is very small, precise, clumped together and in little tiny rows, telling me that that is writing. Anyway, enough on that subject. Move on. So we're going to the manor, and due to the size and the potential unfinished state of it, this was possibly the last structure to be built. I don't know if I speculated this in episode 1, but you'd usually expect the lord of the manor, if it was just one individual who lived here, to build theirs first, and then the peasants to come flocking around the noble, you know? Noble's the man with the money, man with the jobs, man with the opportunity. People want to work for him, so they build their houses near him, but this may not be the case, as the key doesn't really imply any of that. In the past, Majula served as a dumping ground for horrible things, but is now a gathering place for those with no better place to go. It seems this house in Majula was the final home for a few such souls. So just really interesting to think of the time that this was built. See crates, and we see lots of books. We see pots, and we'll see those later, and I believe where we're going we'll see them. We see this white book, which I speculated about in episode 1. That is a real book that you can buy and find in our real world, and the meaning of that, as I suggested before, well, not the meaning, but the book and its contents, I suggested, well, not suggested, but I tried to remember and recall if it related to reproduction, sex, birth, and the female anatomy, something along those lines. But if we take a look, and I think where I've got that from, that false or old memory that I'm kind of pulling from the far reaches of my mind on this subject, as it's been a long time since I've talked about this book, or heard about this book, or thought about this book. There we go again with the zoom in and out. Is when the book is upside down, such as this one, that looks, you know, pretty similar to a certain something, doesn't it? Talking about rebirth, reproduction, that looks like a certain something. And as I mentioned in episode 1, we come out of a crack in the wall, in the cave, sorry. But in the cave wall, when we're inside, it is a huge, questionably looking crack that looks, again, like something a female has. And we are birthed out into the world, and what do we see? We see an obelisk which is shaped like a questionable something. As I made reference, one goes into the other, right? So reproduction and sex and its themes are found in the Dark Souls games, and it's not something people like to think about or want to talk about or even realise is there. But this book and the obelisk and the crack in the cave wall and how we actually exit out of the things betwixt into Majula is, to me, some of the biggest evidence for that kind of theory and speculation and evidence of symbolism. But anyway, yeah. As time of recording, of course, episode 1 hasn't been released as I'm pre-recording these due to these being released back to back and me actually trying to have some life during Christmas. So for those who've answered the question in episode 1 and I've not addressed it, or I'm still speculating about this book, forgive me. I will know, of course, in a couple days, or the time of this is released I'll already know. We can see a book here with actual English quarterly and other text that we can't decipher, and we see a crest. Now this book isn't upside down, and that crest isn't something we've seen before. Actually, you know what that looks like? You know what that looks like? What are they called? Where if you played Fallout New Vegas, you have to look at them as part of the character creation, and the game tries to determine what trait best suits you due to that test and other questions that you answer from the doc, right? After he picks you up and scoops the bullet out of your head, for those of you who played New Vegas. Fantastic game, best Fallout game. Anyway, it looks like one of those that psychiatrists use to see what the person, well, to find out what the person sees and kind of draw a conclusion from their observations. And that, to me, looks like one of them. It looks like that one that can be determined as a bearded man, as a man's face, or as two things touching together. Do you know what I mean? Or it could just be a really low polyed texture of a real life thing. Do you know? Or low resolution, not low poly, sorry. We see loads of tables, loads of desks, place of study, of course. Obviously that is backed up by the amount of books. Just the amount of books, the piles of books, is astonishing. This isn't the only place we've seen books. Where Morlin resides, we see his property also owns books, so it was not unique to the mansion. But the book in question is this huge thing. Now, again, resolution is poor, the lines are blurred, and the book that is being read isn't the white book, and it is just a kind of blank hardback book. Looks like a picture frame, doesn't it? Looks like a picture frame. Move chair. So could that imply things? Again, if a picture or painting was to sit between there, it's been removed, but it is raised, as you can see. It is raised from the actual back. So that's interesting. And it's a big book, so presumably a big person created it. And this is why my voice, sorry, it's going already. It's not even been that long. This is why people believe that this book and maybe this manor was owned or had influence from Seath, or someone obsessed with Seath, researching Seath, just due to the amount of books, connects to the archive from Dark Souls 1 and the size of this book. People use that to connect to Seath. And I can't remember if this book also kind of related to Seath, but again, as Seath tested with certain maidens, Guinevere maidens, and tried to create something, tried to birth something new. He's speculated to be the father, or, well, quotation marks father, because how he created Priscilla is to be, again, theorized, but this all ties in with this theme of reproduction, of life, of birth. So many people have kind of connected things in this room to Seath. And there's other connections in this game to the Pale Drake, of course, the Pale Dragon, the Scaleless Beast. And on this corpse is a Pharos Lockstone. And this has also led people to believe that Pharos may have owned this manor. Because Pharos is a Pharos, however you say his name. I'll keep probably interchanging between the two pronunciations, even if there probably isn't two. I'm just saying it wrong. Pharos is a clever man due to the traps he created, and his copycats are also pretty clever people, as they were able to replicate and use his designs and inspire new traps to benefit or to hinder travellers across Drang Lake. So, of course, with the research, well, with the creation of such traps, requires a lot of knowledge and research on many subjects. So perhaps Pharos was here. And what do we find not too far from here? The pit. And what's just outside the pit? The statues. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because people believe Pharos is connected with a certain boss who resides in the pit. Some people believe him to be Pharos, but other people believe him to just be one of the corpses attached to that horrific being. I believe Pharos to not be the boss in question. I believe him to possibly be one of the corpses. Anyway, moving on. You can hear this horrendous noise, and that is due to the pigs, I think, and not what lies beneath. But I could be wrong. No, I think it is due to the pigs, yeah. There they are. Little baby pigs. We get a better look at them. Try and line myself up. Look at them. And I spoke about this in my An Undead Pilgrimage, Dark Souls 1 lore through, that we find undead dogs, undead rats. And presumably that comes about due to the eating of corpses and consuming of the Dark Soul that is, of course, carried on humans. So the same could be said with these pigs. Abundance of meat, of dead bodies around. Of course, the pigs will get hungry and they eat whatever they could find. If you've watched Snatch, I'll ask, do you know what Nemesis means? And if you've not watched Snatch, Guy Ritchie film, my second favourite film. No, it is my favourite film, sorry, because Lord of the Rings, the trilogy of Lord of the Rings is on a different plane of existence. But my favourite film that isn't Lord of the Rings is Snatch by Guy Ritchie. Second favourite is Gladiator. Are You Not Entertained? Our third is probably Blade Runner 2049. So that gives you a taste into who I am. And you may hate me or like me now, or may hate me or may like me even more now, I'm not too sure. Just interesting how the light works. Look like the golden child. So yeah, mansion. It has weapon racks, it has places of study, not only downstairs but upstairs, tables with multiple chairs. So as it said in the key description, many people called this place home. So due to its size, perhaps a family or a group of researchers and such moved in here. Perhaps it was manned by guards, hence the weapon rack. But in a time in a place such as Drang Lake, maybe the time it was built, perhaps during the War with the Giants or just before, you can imagine everyone would carry some sort of weapon on them. So a weapon rack maybe in a home wouldn't be so uncommon to see back in the day. Got a nice balcony here. Unfortunately, wasn't finished, or they didn't really take safety as a huge concern, as Need some hazard tape here, or you could break a neck. You could break a leg, put a claim in. Again, wooden balcony, a later addition, or originally designed in this way. The pigs, as I mentioned, people kind of move towards the castle, move towards the noble, towards the baron, as they have jobs and opportunity, and obviously the peasants will work for the person of power. And maybe these pigs are evidence of that. Maybe they belong to whoever owned this mansion, and is evidence of farming. Do you know? I don't know. Just trying to think why we find pigs here. You know, why not dogs? Dark Souls loves its dogs, so why not dogs? I mean, thank God not dogs, because they are my most hated enemy. In the chest we find 3 Tarnite shards and 3 torches. That's excellent. I can't remember if the chest was placed here in the original, or it was like over here, or maybe... No, it wasn't outside. If it was over here, I think that chest has moved from its original spot. Someone's died up here. I don't know how that happened. I assume they led the whatever lurks in the basement down below. Or maybe the pigs even got in here. I've never aggroed them. I've never aggroed them inside. But whoever built this place, they were either the creator or the discoverer of this map. And I love how the music of Majula fades out and really lets you hone in on this magnificent piece, etched into the rock on a flat surface, which in itself is a massive feat. To either smooth off the floor or to find material to make a flat surface is an impressive feat, but I believe it was smoothed from the ground floor, and then obviously these raised edges, I can't get that out, were of course left and then finally carved to replicate the land of Drang Lake. So this whole piece is Drang Lake. This is the size and this is the shape of this kingdom. We can see the mountains, and perhaps the textured part of rock represents woods and trees, and obviously the more smoother parts represents flatlands. And here, this represents the last giant. So upon extinguishing or obtaining powerful souls, this map reacts and flames ignite. So going off that, where my foot is now, well, where my feet are, between my feet, presumably that is Majula. And over here is Hyde. And then over here, or here, is the Huntsman Copse around here. And then I guess Old Iron King is here. Earthen Peak, of course, because this looks more mountainous, lives here. Drang Lake Castle about here, I'm not too sure, but really, really, really cool. And as we'll see, or if you were to see and play more of the game and defeat more of the bosses, more flames would appear. Now I believe in New Game Plus 10, is it? The flames turn blue, and that reason not too sure. The only blue flame thing we see is related to the Old Iron King, that being the Smelter Demon, because there's 2 of them, and the blue one relates to the DLC, so any connections there to be made, I don't know. But really interesting. These pillars, shattered, destroyed, broken, above, again more rock. But pillars hidden below in caves and between the earth is something you'll see a lot of, as I've mentioned in episode 1. The Dark Diver Covenant is in this game, and the gazebo that you kind of have to kneel upon to enter the abyss isn't nearly as big as this, but just pillars below the earth is something you'll see a lot of. Is my point. So really, just really interesting. Did the person building the mansion, as I said, stumble upon this? Did they create this? Was the mansion just a facade in order to get to this? You know, they knew of its whereabouts, and so they kind of started a project, build a mansion to distract the people, and further on in the back we'll do the real work. And you can see they got pretty far in, but as Kale said, and as suggested by the many pools of blood, there are things down here that did not properly die. Now these, those of you who played Dark Souls 1, should be pretty familiar. Skeletons of this type wielding that style of weapon, although that is a falchion, not a scimitar. I believe in Dark Souls 1, if I remember, the skeletons wield a scimitar. I should have power stanced them, but I wasn't. Drops a human effigy. So this person, as I mentioned, there are weapon racks. Were they a guard? Did they relate to the mansion, or were they unearthed by the people who built the mansion? How long have they been down here? But the fact that they drop a human effigy suggests to me they are from more recent times. But again, they would never drop a humanity, because that would just kind of confuse the lore and the game, having kind of two items that both work as humanity. Have I got any? I haven't. We do have torches, of course, but I haven't actually got anything to light it with. But you can see an ancient structure is buried deep below the earth, and we see more pillars. These ones are huge. So which this leads me to believe that they either accidentally stumbled upon it, or, as I said, were purposely looking for it. So does this predate Vendrick's rule? Vendrick's kingdom? Vendrick's reign? Does this predate him? Who built this and for what purpose? They had an understanding of souls, but the fact that it reacts to the souls of this time could speak to it being made more recently in the Dark Souls timeline, and not of a bygone age, not of a previous cycle. But who's to say if powerful souls were in different areas, the flame wouldn't appear there? As in, we know as players where they appear, because they are preset to appear in locations. But who's to say if the beings of these souls moved? Say the last giant walked all the way over here and we killed him over here, the flame would appear here instead. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what point I'm trying to make from that, but just interesting to think about. Yeah, did the person creating this know the location of each and every boss beforehand? Or is there more going on here? Is there more going on to play? Does this map somehow know where the powerful souls lie, and no matter where they go and where they end up in Drang Lake, wherever they fall, this map will show a flame to represent their death? Do you know what I'm saying in that? There's no lore on that, only theories, and very loose theories at that. Very just horrible theories presented by me there. We have an Estus Flash shard, so it's definitely worth coming down here. And the biggest takeaway from this area, and something that people got absolutely excited about in the early days, and you know I've referenced Dark Souls 1 and the predetermined connections by the community in the early days, going off the trailers and dialogue that we heard in the network test of the Huntsman Cops. Melentia's When the Giants Cross the Seas. And I spoke about all the theories that spawned from that dialogue. Well, this further cemented people's belief of Dark Souls 1 having stronger connections and more obvious connections, should I say, in this game with Dark Souls 2. But the Lord's Soul being smashed, as that is what this is, I believe symbolises this game. You know, this is something different. Although it is connected to the first, this is something different. And the smashing of old represents that. Now, for those of you who know, again, it could not. Many of you could have different theories on this, so please let me know if you do have any. Again, symbolism, it's not my strong suit at all, so those with a bigger monkey brain, please feel free to share. But for those of you who know this game, you'll know underneath the map around about this area, there's an actual full or partially cracked Lord vessel just chilling under the map. So just really cool, and presumably the Lord vessel sat atop here. And as I said, Lordran was built upon kingdoms, not Lordran, sorry. What we now know is Drang Lake, in this plane, this area in the world. Many kingdoms have risen and fallen, and many structures of old have been reused, and some have just simply been built atop of. And this is more evidence of that. It is stated in the Titanite description in Dark Souls 2. Titanite was discovered in an ancient layer of earth. It is said to be a gift of the gods. Titanite of this size has very little power, but it is still a rare find. So in an ancient layer of the earth you shall find ancient things. And as I said last episode, the further down you dig, the further down you dig, the further into the past you go. And we all know this, of course, from our own history, digging up Roman ruins and ancient artifacts, and people with metal detectors in empty open fields finding all sorts of things. So just really interesting what age this came from, presumably due to the Lord vessel from the first age that we know, the age of fire and Gwyn. But maybe not. Maybe the Lord vessel was inherited. Maybe it was replicated throughout the ages. But we shall never know, and the structure that held it is now destroyed, along with the relic. In this chest, as you can see, highly decorated chest, very nice looking chest. Don't worry, it's not a mimic. Here we'll find a soul vessel. Now, I think that changed from the original. I think in the original, was it a sublime bone dust in there? And this has always remained an Estus Flash shard, I think. But I'm pretty sure that soul vessel wasn't there in the original. But I spoke about these in episode 1, and how it's more evidence of stone kind of being a vessel for souls. And how this ties in with the ancient dragons, as they were literally animated beings powered by souls, weren't? Well, not whether they contained. No, they didn't contain souls. They were life, animated mineral essentially, but their flesh is what I believe to be Titanite. And again, if you've got this far and somehow not watched my previous content, please do so, and please check out my Dark Souls lore video on Titanite. As I state, it's the story of creation, and that really relates to the slabs, but I really go into the topic of Titanite and where it came from and all the other connections to the deity and the giants and all that good stuff. So please go watch that. But I really do talk about how stone can be a vessel for souls, and how stone can be brought to life because of this technology. And this is, again, more evidence in this game, as we see the golems, and I spoke about this last episode, and what Vendrick presumably stole from the giants when he peered into the essence of the soul. That was told to us by the Emerald Herald. But anyway, soul vessel, a vessel that will accept your souls. It can allow God help me, right? It can allow reallocation, there we go, of levels, but without proper assistance. It may simply drain you of souls. If you truly wish to start again, go to the place where your journey began. hinting there at the thing betwixt and a certain firekeeper. As I think it's interesting how she is the one needed to reallocate our souls. She, due to her being a firekeeper, even though she is not one anymore, she can still have the power over souls. You know, she can still command souls in a certain way, and of course her doing that through the use of this item benefits us, and we can, gameplay wise, reallocate our attribute points and respec. But just think about the lore on how a firekeeper still has power over souls, even when a firekeeper technically isn't a firekeeper anymore because they're just chilling in a little tree hut. Do you know what I mean? It's a pretty interesting thing to think about. You know, they don't lose it. So that's the mansion, guys. And now we can go down the rabbit hole. But before we do, we need to gift this Estus Flash Shard. I'll set the fire and I'll speak to Melentia again because I'm pretty sure, well, I know she is. She's supposed to give us an item.
You would... We call this not... Is everyone...
But I don't know if...
Lowly.
She's never ever not given me this, and I don't know if this is a bug at the minute, or I didn't tick a certain box when we first communicated with her and found her in the Forest of Fallen Giants, if I was supposed to do a certain thing that I've always done, and this time for some reason I haven't done it, and now she's not giving us this ring. Or maybe I haven't ticked a certain box yet for her to give me the ring. But yeah, I was under the impression that she would always give you it no matter what, but apparently not.
Is that a shard you found?
Yes, it is.
Here, let me see it, so that I may help you. To see light, to see hope, however faint it might be.
Oh, I didn't want to do that. Well, there's my attributes. You got just a flash of it. Now we will speak to Melentia again because I do actually need to buy some more stuff. There we go, 3 more. 3 is the magic number. And we need to equip them. So if you haven't got or can't afford the ring, just get loads of life gems and precariously drop down to the bottom. And again, were people thrown in here? I speculated about this in episode 1, I think. Or did they also attempt the descent and unfortunately met their end? Oh shit, okay, that kills me. Okay. Bollocks. Maybe we can't go down then. I haven't got enough health. I haven't got enough health. That's very annoying. I look terrible. Yeah, I simply haven't got enough health. Have I got the life ring on? I've got the life ring on. We were at full health, I'm pretty sure. Or were we? We're going to try it again. I know I just wasted the humanity. Forgive me. But it doesn't really matter for this series. That's really funny, though. That is really funny. Comedic value. Okay. Oh. No, okay, we die. He died. And just look at the amount of blood stains. I mean, not really much on that first plank. So we've contributed twice now. Well, looks like we're going hide. I mean, I could use my other character because he has yet to go into the gulch. Well, it's not the gulch strictly, is it? Because there's other things. There's the grave of saints. I really wanted to talk about this place, but I don't want to use my other character because he's a bit OP. Like, but maybe we will. Maybe we will. Okay, we're gonna switch to him. because I actually really wanted to talk about this, and I've all mentioned about the mansion and made suggestions already. We are going down there, and I thought it had enough health, and I haven't got enough souls to. Well, saying that, maybe we could use. Sorry about this. This is so unprofessional. But for those of you who have not enjoyed the series, they would have left already. So thank you for sticking with me, guys. Thank you a lot. It means a lot. Hope you're enjoying. Hope you're enjoying yourself, because I clearly am by killing myself all the time. We're going to read these, and I don't think these will really come into question again during this mini-series. So we read them last episode, but we'll read it again. Soul of the surviving giant who is bound below the forest of the giants. The Lord of Giants, who had brought wreck and ruin to the entire kingdom, was said to have been felled by an unknown warrior. That's us, cough cough. Spoilers. His beaten and broken remains were then dragged beneath this stronghold. Well, the stronghold where he was sealed away. Again, we talked about that quite a bit last episode. Soul of the pursuer. Soul of the pursuer who lurks in Drang Lake. So can't be found elsewhere. I think that's important. That is very important. The pursuer who seeks the bearer of the sign will not rest until his target is slain. Who lurks in Drang Lake. Not anywhere else. That is, to me, that is very important. Right, we'll pop them. 10,000 they should give me. 6,000. Ooh, okay, never mind. Pursuer. A bit more, please. Okay, that's enough. Yes. Excellent. That is just enough. The ring's like 13k something. Oh, she's changed. I like it when she's on the table. It freaks me out when she's sat on the chair.
Oh. Who are you again? No, I'm not serious.
Oh, you joker. I'll speak to her again. Maybe she'll have something more. She spoke about the Victor Stone last time.
This place is... Everything will... Isn't it all...
Yeah, again, everything will crumble, so something new may be born. Again, this whole theme of rising from the ashes, out with the old, in with the new, rebirth. We spoke about this, or I've spoke about this many times during the past 2 episodes.
This place is... We receive only the most peculiar... It's enough to... Satisfied? I'll be around if you...
I'll be around if you make it back. We'll swap out the life ring, because it's not really... Doesn't really mean that much. Right, we should be okay now, guys. We should... we should be... Is this me? Treasure ahead, therefore try jumping. I'm going to rate that. Is this me? That's me. That's me, I'm pretty sure. That was my ghost. Yes. It's happening. We don't need the other character. It's happening. So, Radiant Life Gem. The dev's very cheekily there, giving you a regen item. Pharos Lockstone. Again, tying Pharos further with this level, or his imitators at least. Now there are 2 entry... Well, there's 3 technically. One we won't be able to access yet. But there's 2 proper entry and exit points. We can see one platform there. And if you'll notice further down below, again, From Software love to use light as an indication of where to go. So definitely use that design choice when going... choice when going into Elden Ring, and just notice it. If you're ever lost, look for a torch or some shining area being illuminated by some other means, and that usually will be an indication of where you have to go. Anyway, we'll be going to the first platform. Oh jeez. Oh, jeez. We have poison moss, and we have not obtained that yet. Oh, we have common fruit as well. We'll read this. A spotted fruit, temporarily boosts poison resist. This common fruit has no taste, but when facing a true test of metal, its benefits could make a difference between life and death. and we picked up the poison moss, a faintly poisonous clump of moss. When ingested, it counteracts poison and cleanses one's insides. If enough poison builds up in the body to break out and cause poisoning, your HP will start to decrease. If you wish to stay alive, you would do well to keep a supply of this. Blah 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 blah. We know how poison works. Now we'll let it regen a bit before I jump, because again, you might think you'll survive that, but Dark Souls 2 is Dark Souls 2. I'll just do it again. Okay, that's enough. Okay, yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But I really like this next area. And I actually thought that for a second, I thought I saw a rat in the rock. You see how that texture there, the rock? I don't know, I just thought I saw a rat carved in to the rock face. The Grave of Saints. And this set piece makes me very sad. For those of you who watched the announcement trailer in 2012, and I spoke about this in episode 1, it is the best Dark Souls trailer to ever exist. It's just the best. It's the pinnacle of Dark Souls trailers. And we can hear a chuckle. That's pretty cool. And it doesn't relate to the final product at all. It is a CGI trailer, but that doesn't take anything away from it from just being absolutely incredible. It gives me chills to this day. I love that trailer. It makes me very emotional. And even more so because of the game we never got. And this set piece, we kind of see the same in that trailer, although I believe in the trailer it's a dragon's head and not a big rat skull, or rat carving out of the rock, because you can see the rubble here, presumably again just rubble from the carving, which I think is really, really cool. And this place is referred to as the Grave of Saints. So much like Majula's mansion was potentially created because they knew the location of the map, or the whereabouts, pardon me, this beer is repeating, or they knew the whereabouts of the map, so decided to build the mansion so they can then excavate into the cliff. Was this pit created due to the knowledge of what lied beneath? You know? Or was what's found beneath a product of this hole? Or was it a bit of both? Anyway, bonfire lit. Harvel's resting place. Now, the name of this bonfire has spawned many, many, many theories, and because of the Harvel, people have thought this to mean Havel. And Havel also relates to this area. Well, not specifically this area we're in, but the way in which we're going, which is down, as his armor can be found in a certain area. And due to, as we spoke about, Dark Souls 2's twist on the lore and theme of people questioning the past, denying the past, people creating new miracles, not because, creating new miracles due to blind faith or due to discrepancies in the faith, causing deities, the same deity, to have two names, and all this good stuff, all this good lore. And due to obviously time passing, people's perception on the past changes due to their own propaganda or propaganda of others, or just because of the evidence isn't enough and they haven't unlocked the full truth of the past. Anyway, massive tangent. Because of this kind of the discrepancies with names and deities found in this game, people believe that Harvel is the result of a not mistranslation on the English's, not a mistranslation on Frog Nation's side, but a mistranslation of the people found within this universe of Dark Souls 2. So much time has passed that the name of Havel has become twisted, and now is Harvel, or was Harvel, or was also known as Harvel. Again, time is factored into the people's understanding of the past. The thing laughing, is this fella. So an undead chuckling away. Is it due to his madness or his sanity? Which one concerns you the most? And interesting enough, beside him can be seen candles and more skeletons. Do people come here, light a candle, and then eventually die like these two? Do you know what I mean? But these skeletons also sat, because there's 3 candles, right? Or you could determine the smaller piece to be a chunk of the pre-existing 2, but maybe that's just, you know, a candle that's been used up more than the others. But anyway, 3 candles. Now there's 3 corpses. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe this was a family line. This is his granddad, this is his dad, and then finally Jeff comes to sit next to this rock and candle and laugh himself beyond undeath. I don't know. But that being said, we find, of course, more skeletons throughout this area and more undead, so ignore that kind of theory, which is funny to think about. But death, we'll see all around us. We'll see skulls fixed into the wall, very reminiscent of the catacombs. And we see rats. Poisonous rats. And due to how Dark Souls 2 handles corpses, some ragdoll, some don't, so we couldn't get a good look. But the rats weren't in the most healthiest of conditions, were they? They didn't look as undead as what can be found in the first game, but you know, their condition could be because of their living conditions, or maybe fights with other adventurers, or maybe it's a sign of undeath and the undead curse. But speaking of death, we see coffins, and some are chained and some aren't. Some are cracked open, potentially looted. Is this why some have chains upon them, to stop grave robbers? Or is it to stop whatever's inside from breaking out? Havel, to continue with that subject, also has chains. Chains are on his armour. There's also points where chains could be hooked around his waist on his actual the chest piece. Again, there's chains on his gauntlets, and I can't remember if they're seen on the leggings, but on the chest piece, around the waist, there is these little, what I like to call hook points, as if you would again put chains there to restrain Havel. But my lore on Havel and my theory on Havel is that he was a giant, and the stone armour and warriors of Havel choose to use their weapons and armour to honour Havel's strength and might that he naturally had due to him being a giant, of course. And so they do their best to imitate that by using heavy weapons, heavy armour, and to help offset this insanely heavy equipment, they use Havel's ring, which is very rock-like. And my theory on Titanite and giants, you can hear for yourself in my mentioned Titanite video. Titanite is the story of creation. Again, that Havel theory I wish to work into a future video at some point. But interesting that above here, we'll have to see if we see this replicated. We do. Okay. What is this? Presumably blood. What is this? Is this the moon? Is this the sun? Is this a serpent eating its tail? Is this a constellation? Does this relate to the sky, the stars, or an emblem of some sort that we'll never get the full picture of due to time it's fading? Again, what does this represent? Space? A crest? the moon, the sun, the world. We'll see it again. Different from the last. Different from the last. Different from the last. What does that mean? What does this mean? Some are chained, some aren't. Some are opened, some are missing. Does their state somehow tie in with this symbol? Does this, as I said, represent the stars in any way? The sky? Is it a tracking of day? Tracking of time? I honestly don't know. I'm making this all up. Just really interesting. Of course, what did we find? We didn't find undead warriors. We found rats. Large soul of a nameless soldier. A fun tongue twister, or at least it is for me, is say a large soul of a nameless soldier really, really fast. Just say it over and over again. I promise you'll probably trip up over it. At least I do. And above us is the corpse of a giant. And what else do we see? Pillars. I mentioned pillars beneath the earth, or columns beneath the earth. They're everywhere. All throughout Drangleic you'll find kind of these gazebos or pillars in a circular formation beneath the earth. They loved it, these people of the past. We also find this pattern. Now, could this just be a pattern, or could this be a helix? Could this relate to DNA in any way, or anything else that helixes kind of symbolize and represent? Just really, really interesting. This is why I wanted to come down here, because I just found this place fascinating. Broken down crypt doors. People have busted in. This is where we entered, actually, wasn't it? I think. Yeah. And more signs of candles. So, you know, I made the joke of what did I call him? Fred, sitting down with his relatives. Well, the other one we killed was also here next to candles. Just weird. Were those people here to worship a certain someone, or were they here due to them being banished from above? Were they thrown down into the pit and sought refuge in here? Again, too scared to kind of come out into this room, or they knew they would be attacked. So just decided to call that little tunnel home. Just really cool. Now we can't, as you can see, there's a hole and a hole above us, and we have to drop down through there onto there, but we'll get around that to that later, I think, as I've actually forgotten how to get there. It's been a while. But this is the biggest takeaway. Is that the moon? Is that an eyeball? Is that a full moon? Again, another crescent moon in the sky. Eclipse. Was that an eclipse? Full moon. Another full moon. Like, what does this mean? Please, guys, let me know, because this full moon is bigger than this one. So that can relate to the sky. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to move on from that subject now, but interesting. Now here we find a merchant. The filthy man. I'm joking, it's not a merchant. Again, just an undead chuckling to himself. Not got enough stamina. Oh, power stance. We love it. I can also take off the cat ring, and I can put the ring of life back on now, actually. So we see here, people were laid to rest. This was the catacombs for humans once, but now it's been overtaken by rats. These corpses, long dead, but yet skin still remains clinging to the skeletons. They are not in completely decayed, and honestly, this fella doesn't look too far off from that corpse. It has of course been overflowed. Water has found its way in from deep beneath, well, deep beneath the rock, or from above. And we can see if we peer our camera around, it goes deeper. This was a huge, huge place, cut short due to the flood. Trying to see what that texture is there, but don't recognise anything from Dark Souls 1. And now we find rats in its place. I got a lockstone, I got 2 lockstones. Excellent. Now this place is, well, was great for invading. This was one of the early hotspots for invasions due to the covenant that can be found here. And these Pharos lockstone contraptions, some of them spawn traps, some of them will kill your opponent or aid you in killing your opponent, or you if you misstep. So it was just really fun to watch invasion videos back in the day when this place was teeming. As yeah, this was the place to be. But the fact that we find Pharos lockstones working alongside and in this place, again, relates to Pharos. Was this place built by him entirely, including the columns and everything else, and the whole structure? Or did Pharos come in later and then apply his contraptions? Or did his copycats come in later and apply their contraptions? Just interesting. Dark Souls and the theme of repurposing is seen in all of the games, but you could just see how big this place was. Like, it's absolutely massive. Multiple stories. And beneath, I don't know if that's what it is. Yeah. No way. No way. I've never ever noticed that. Beneath the water is thousands of bodies. That is all corpses, indicating the age of this place in order for it to be that full. So from what age of fire, from what cycle was this place built? I find it interesting, maybe. We see the helix, the kind of chain pattern, and here we see chains. Looking too much into that possibly, but I don't know. Weirder things have been suggested. Again, this place wasn't built for rats, but rats now inhabit it, and it seems it was then later made to accommodate rats or worship them. We find petrified rats, and their eyes have been removed. Now, either the eyes haven't been removed or they didn't use it in the model that we find here. The developers didn't. But again, eyes are an especially important theme when relating to a location of death, as to level up in Nito's Covenant, in the Gravelord's servants. You need eyes of death. And what are these presumably petrified rats lacking? Eyes. Maybe another connection, although their mouths aren't open but their eyes are hollow, is Pharos's contraption. Their eyes are also hollow. Again, not really strong connection. I haven't got anything more to say on that, just interesting observation perhaps. Again, these grand tombs and coffins, like, beautifully carved out. These were clearly for the more important people. Much like we found, and I speculated in the Catacombs episode in Dark Souls 1. These piled up corpses in the base, are they a result of, and a reflection of kind of the undead curse and this kind of pandemic of undeath and not knowing what to do with the corpses? So people, instead of kind of burying them respectfully, just were like, let's just throw them in a pit. You know, the kind of custom of burial and funerals quickly kind of phased out due to relatives reappearing within however many days or weeks from when they presumably died. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So this place was built with the intent to bury the dead, but then, as all cycles found within this universe, they face the undeath or the undead curse. Undeath crops up, people start reappearing, and then you can kind of theorize and understand that, of course, people would have trouble locating all these, well, not locating, but storing all these corpses and bones. So, as I said, the custom of burial quickly goes out the window, and people just start lobbing corpses willy-nilly, and huge piles then form. And willy-nilly, I use that on purpose because that is canon when talking about Dark Souls, because the phrase willy-nilly can be found in an item description in this game, which I think is excellent. Like, willy-nilly. I love that. We have Whisper of Despair and a torch. Just really, really cool. Now, these white spots, they can be found on stone if you're familiar, but... And there's actually carvings. Wow, okay, there's actually carvings. And... You know what? That carving of the door with the circle above. We've been talking about circles in the other room and what that might symbolise. So does this relate to that? But other than that, that whole texture looks familiar to me. Not just the circle, but the whole thing, door included, and the columns either side. But we can also see a kind of repeating texture. I don't know what that is. To me, it looks best described as a pair of scissors, or the handles on a pair of scissors that you'd put your fingers through. You can kind of see there's one on the edge, there's another one next to that, the door texture, and there's another one on its other side. That's interesting. I've never noticed that before. But my point being was these white splotches. Now, I was under the impression that, yes, that is a result of age, but can only be seen above ground due to kind of the air. And it's kind of like a fungus, is it not? Or maybe it isn't. But we find it below, so I'm not sure what actually makes this occur in the IRL world. But if someone knows, let me know if it can be found on tombs underground. We also see cloth, actually, on the top, a fabric. So it's not, well, this one at least. Okay, no, yeah, so it has a, presumably on the inside, the skeletons, or the corpses, sorry, may have been wrapped or just covered in nice fabric, and then the lid placed on top. It's interesting. More obvious here. I don't know why I didn't look at this one first. And again here, yeah. That's just cool. They didn't have to add that. They could have just made them empty kind of stone-like coffins. Do you know what I mean? But that door texture and the circle. Could something be implied there? Am I looking too much into it? I'm not too sure. Let me know. Anyway. This leads back to where we came from. And I think this was the tactic in PvP. Was to, either in their world or your world, depending if you wanted to be invaded or do the invading, was to lower or raise one of these bridges. Now, I can't remember if this was the correct one or not. But it basically led people into a false sense of security. And they would basically play into your hands because they kind of run to a dead end. Either through this way or that way. I can't remember, but it was a tactic. Bloody expensive. You'll see a lot of those as well. We see holes in peculiar places. Presumably made by rats burrowing through the rock, perhaps. We also see, rather unusually, this. Is this to funnel oxygen? Fumes? What is this? Is this another peephole for the rat? I don't think so, but that's interesting. Kind of just awkwardly placed. That's weird, isn't it? Not noticed that before. But that being said, I was about to suggest it may just be the rear of a kind of wall texture not properly aligned or considered, and the fact that we see corpses phasing through the wall may confirm that observation and point of it just being a, you know, the rear of a texture that shouldn't actually be seen. Do you know what I mean? And we see more, well, we don't see more, but we see rat statues, because as I speculated, those rats we saw in this room I believe to have been petrified. These ones do have eyes, because eyes have been carved to represent that. There's no just big huge indents. And we'll talk about what they're holding in a minute, but oh, who doesn't love power stancing? Another one. Yeah, this seems to be a bigger version of that hole we saw poking out of the wall. So I don't know, maybe that one below is for baby rats, and this is of course for the adult rats. The adult rats? God, why don't I make sense? The adult rats. But yeah, again, this place has been refashioned, been recarved, been repurposed to allow for this to happen. You can see it kind of, the arch is removed in place for this hole, the border of this hole. Again, this wasn't originally here. These weren't originally here. These weren't originally here. These weren't originally here. They've all been added. And they're holding vases, or a vase, containers. What for? Is it a clue as to what these will do? Because I think these spill out corrosive liquid, I think. Or some poisonous or harmful liquid. So is it to symbolise that? Or to represent something else, as water is running through here. So yeah, just something to think about. Now, we can go two ways. We can go down here. In there. And this will lead you to a bonfire, yeah? Yeah. So you get a bonfire, grave entrance. Or you get to drop down the hole with the giant skeleton that I pointed out before. The rat should drop down again. Yeah, does he drop down? I can hear him walking. Gonna drop down? There we go. But the fact that they're poisoned, I think, relates to the gutter and the gulch and just people throwing unwanted items down here, and of course rats feeding on it, being what's the word, exposed to it, and now it's affected them like physically, although it doesn't harm them. Of course, poison is one with them, so if you're bit by it, you will be poisoned. Now this is interesting. We see giant corpses. Now the persecution of giants is something I've gone into in my Dark Souls lore video, Giant Slaves of Lorethrough. However, these are human giants. We saw human giant skeletons, or more humanoid giant skeletons, in the graveyard, well, Firelink graveyard, and them giants I believe to be different to the ones that could be found in Sens on the giant blacksmith. They are a different race. They are human giants, or what we described as human looking, you know, because the subject of human in Dark Souls doesn't really do well when describing the different races of humanoids, because we have giants like the gods, and their souls is of the light, and they don't contain the dark soul. Humans are carriers of the dark soul, so using the term humans rather loosely can be a bit destructive when discussing the lore on certain elements. But anyway, you know what I mean. These look like us but taller. Doesn't necessarily mean they were humans or carried the dark soul, but we find them chained up. So was this a punishment? Were the rats used as torture to nibble and bite at the flesh of these presumably prisoners, or does remains chained again symbolize something that I'm unaware of? Does this represent something when a corpse is chained? Because there's nothing to be gained from this person, they're dead, but it does send a message. And what message is that? What is it trying to imply? Or were these just tortured and eaten by the rats? See the rats beneath here, burrowed their way through a coffin, and on top rests a giant. Come on. We can see kind of stretched textures in the back, just like these beams. Come on, guys. No, they're not going to play ball. Yeah, just interesting. Do rats have an involvement with this? Okay, they're coming now. Just really, really cool. Well, again, the persecution of giants is a real thing, and something that can be discussed within the Dark Souls lore pretty extensively. So guys, we shall go through this boss fog, and before we do that, we'll apply some aromatic ooze, a mysterious sticky substance that radiates a pale white light. Applies magic to right hand weapon. The affected weapon inflicts magic damage for a short time, particularly effective against... Oh shit, you little bastard. I thought I heard something moving, but I thought it was like in the boss room. Anyway. Little bastard. Particularly effective against heavily armoured foes or creatures with thick scales. And that's all we have for a buff, so we shall use it. Although it's described as white, it gives you a blue kind of aura. Now this is the Royal Rat Vanguard. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Stamina management is key, of course. A fairly easy boss if you don't want to get poisoned. There is one rat in particular that you need to look out for. You little bastard. And due to the chug, that may be your biggest enemy. It usually is. He'll come out, I think, once a certain amount is killed. If you don't run out of stamina. I swear this Cloranthe ring isn't doing anything. He has a Mohican. He is the last of the Mohicans. Great film. There he is, Royal Rat Vanguard. Very interesting boss. Mechanically, because it takes a while for him to appear. And once he appears, it's more of a fight of stamina. I've lost him now. Where is he? He's here. You can see he has curse and poison. Curse, humanity, surrounded by death. Connections to be made. Upon his defeat, they all scamper. Are you not entertained? You're gifted with the Royal Rat Vanguard soul and a rat tail. We see more of these statues. Placed in a rather peculiar way, they are all facing this center rat. And here they are all facing each other. Positioned to mean something. I made reference to day and night due to the kind of circles above the grave. Is this also representing day in some way? How many is there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rats. Is there? Is that 7? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, gone. I'm terrible at maths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 rats, so... I don't know. If anyone knows what this may imply or may mean, relates to day or night, or some kind of monitoring of time, or the stars, or what? Or is it just statues? Probably just is. And do these somehow relate to that? Because there's 12. If we want to talk about time, there's 8 there. There's 12 here. There's 4 here. That makes 12, and obviously the one in the middle. I don't know. We see more coffins destroyed again, but we see, interestingly enough, candles are lit. Now, is this kind of in honour to the rats, because rats can't light candles, so this is clear signs of humans. We've seen humans, although they are completely undead, of course. So that's interesting. But these coffins aren't chained, unlike the others. So what does that imply? Not too sure. And for those of you who played Dark Souls 1, this may seem familiar. Although not exact, it is, I believe, the top of the skulls that can be found in the Tomb of the Giants in Dark Souls 1. I can't remember if the bottom piece with the longer teeth can be seen, but definitely this top piece. And the kind of... Is it the incisors, which are our teeth used for ripping meat? Kind of similar to the skull that can be found in Ash Lake, but not exact, because this one has more of a elongated head or dome than the other one. The other one has like bat ears, for those if you remember. But anyway, I spoke about this in my Giants video, which I've made reference to, Giant Slaves of Lorethrough, that when the fire first emerged, life didn't instantly happen. Gwyn didn't instantly appear and take out the dragons with his allies, which fucking hell, the Witch of Izalith and Daughters of Chaos, Nito, and all that. Civilization and life took a long time, I believe, to form and get to the point that we see in the intro. Again, for fire sorceries to be taught and understood takes a lot of time. For an army of Gwyn's size to be made, to be recruited, for their equipment to be crafted, to be maintained, for knights to be trained, for miracles to be taught, because we see Silver Knights also cast lightning in the intro. If you kind of slow down that part where Gwyn is getting ready to launch his lightning bolt, you'll see in the corner there are also legions of Silver Knights doing the same, and of course you'll see their lightning bolts follow Gwyn's as it hits the ancient dragons. Anyway, for that understanding and teaching of miracles and fire sorceries takes time. I speculated about Nito in my Giant Slaves of Lorethrough video and how he came to be and his appearance. I won't go into that. Please watch that if you have yet to watch it. But point being, there was a lot of things that came from the dark when life first emerged, and some of those things and beings didn't make it into the Age of Fire. Some of them stayed within those early ages when the war with the giants with the war with the dragons, sorry, they are either killed by the other more advanced races that emerged and found their souls within the flame, or they simply died out like the Neanderthals and other subhuman, well, not subhuman race, that's the wrong term, but other predecessors of humans that we are yet to discover. I didn't make it into the final of the X Factor. Oh, I've messed that up. The X Factor. No, I've messed it up again. Try it again. The X Factor. There we go. So yeah, this skull can be seen in the Tomb of the Giants, I believe. And again, as mentioned, that's just more evidence of things that didn't make it into the modern day and kind of kept in the dark and buried in the Tomb of the Giants, and the skeletal beasts, the bone dogs as we call them. More evidence of that. Again, I make these points in my Giant Save the Children video. But anyway, we're standing upon piles of bones, and talking about Dark Souls 1 again, we see a reuse of this texture. This Arbor Night texture is reused multiple times in this game and Dark Souls 1. You first kind of see it in the depths where there's that pile of bones drop down from the butcher's little cubby hole behind the crates. But there's also other textures that made it into this game, like a certain wheel and Heisenberg bottle. So that maybe we'll get to show that off if we make it that far. Really interesting, but we get a better view of that texture there. And whatever. Now, actually, are they swans? Is that birds? Flamingos, swans, some long-necked bird. I think it is, isn't it? What's that? What's those birds that carry babies? That's where babies come from, right? Those birds. Pelicans. Not pelicans. No, not pelicans. What are those birds? Anyway, could it be two birds facing each other? And what does that mean? Many questions, and I've got no answers. Behind, actually, you see... Can we jump up on here? No. Behind, that leads into where we found those chained remains of giants, I believe, because there was a hole to my left. I didn't look through it, but that kind of shows off this area. Anyway. Sorry, sir. Big googly-eyed rat covered in blood from fighting. He also has a Mohican, so covered in fighting or eating remains. Not too sure, but creeps me out, definitely.
Leave this place, human. We have no time for thy kind. Humans bring nothing but filth.
He says, covered in filth. Oh, didn't mean to do that.
Is that a rat tail, human?
Oh, I didn't read it.
Thou'st one of mine rat burrows conquered. This will not go unnoticed. Rejoice, for the right to serve me is now thine. Since thou'rt human still, permit me ask, wilt thou thy human soul surrender and pledge thyself to me?
When seeketh thy blah blah blah.
Swearest thou by the sweet-tempered sludge that laps at our bosoms?
Right, so this fella's the Rat King, and he clearly speaks like one of noble and royal blood. The use of thou, hi thy, what's the thing? How now, brown cow, right? And even in Dark Souls 1, this is very unusual to hear because it's very misplaced. We hear Oscar say when he's referring to his family, saying family motto, thou who art undead are chosen. When pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords, ring the bell awakening, blah, 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 right? We know it. And that is because it's purposely, I subscribe to the theory that, and this ties in with the prophecy of the chosen undead and how that came to be. It's purposely made to sound old to suit the narrative. Now, why is he speaking in ye olde English? Is it because, you know what I mean, it's just part of his gimmick, or does that kind of, from what we find in Dark Souls 1, also tie in here? I'm not too sure. But anyway, he's the Rat King. Yes, I shall join your covenant, Mr. King. he's giddy. He loves it.
Thou hast the eyes of one who perceiveth true beauty. Human, thou mayst serve. Take this ring. It was forged by a human who was once among us.
And here we get evidence that we are not the first.
The ring draws to thee those who would defile our burrow. Wear the ring whenever thou art near, and destroy those who would dare provoke our ire. I will grant unto thee all thou shouldst so desire. I prithee serve with a true rat's honor.
Prithee be careful. Neither of us want to see you go hollow. So yeah, just really interesting. And the fact that he said a human crafted this ring who once served them leads a lot of people to believe that that human was once Pharos. And obviously further connections with the whole lockstone contraptions we see of his or of his copycats, not too sure. But, you know, copycats and rats, kind of cats kill rats, kill mice. Again, speaking gibberish. Ring of the Rat King Covenant. Join this covenant and wear this ring to lure trespassers of the Rat King's territory into your world. If you receive this ring, rejoice in the opportunity to demonstrate your allegiance to an eminently noble being. Interesting. Even the ring refers to him as a noble. And again, further connections between Pharos and the Rat Covenant and Rat King and all that is due to we find more Pharos and Rat things together later, a bit later on. But the emblem seen on the ring is interesting. What that depicts, what that means. A rat teeth, I think, actually is probably the best. Two nice, long, horrible, gangly rat teeth. Is that what that is, or is it something else? Because, you know, this guy has two. If we were to equip that ring, then we'd yeah, I think it is rat teeth due to the emblem now seen near our health and stamina. If we equip the ring, that's when we start invading people who are not in the Covenant. I said this is a PvP Covenant. We'll actually reset at the bonfire because there's more stuff going on down there, and you kind of need a bit more of it. Well, fuck. Get my words out. You need a bit more health to deal with it. But just really interesting when the rats came into play. Were they already here before Pharos's contraptions, or were they? Did they move in because of Pharos's involvement, or someone connected to Pharos? Another lockstone, of course. And we see that the crypt continues further. We saw from looking over onto the water that, again, the crypt does go deeper due to the multiple floors. Again, more pillars underground. They love it. And we can see that it is very, very old. It's seen much wear and tear. Some floors have just completely fallen away to the point that you can completely drop through them. There's a crystal lizard there. And we'll try drop onto it, but as I said, the plunging attack in this game is terrible. But iron bars, again, we can see path we go further on, so this place goes deeper into the rock. Just really, really cool, the age of this place. Oh, he's turned. No, he's gone. The most annoying crystal lizard to ever exist. There's an item there that you can get if you jump, but it is a bit risky, and I don't really want to be doing it. This texture and these walls and stairs we can see later kind of leading us into the old Iron Keep. Just interesting observation there. Again, just a reuse of textures, or does it imply something? Because the doors of the old Iron King, or the doors seen in the old Iron King, the kind of black iron doors, can be seen also elsewhere in Drang Lake. This actually also texture I think is seen when walking below Hyde to No Man's Wharf, I think. This kind of cobbled stone wall. Nice texture, like. I'd have it. I'd have it in my underground layer. Ash Knuckle Ring. The Ash Knuckle Ring reads, and you see how much it is a knuckle, as it's a ring worn on the finger, which I think is rather interesting. Oh, what am I just said? It's a ring worn on the finger, but I mean as in like it's not your traditional ring. It's as if it's been taken off a gauntlet, as seen here, you know. I can't believe I just said that. It is a ring that can be worn on the finger. What am I on about? I mean, you can get toe rings, so yeah, whatever. Knuckle ring worn by Roy the Explorer increases petrification resistance. Now, what have we seen? We have seen rats petrified with their eyes missing, and this is the Ash Knuckle Ring. Relate to Ash Lake in any way, or relate to kind of the burning of corpses, bonfires, or just death in some way, or ash knuckle due to its grey colour. And grey is the colour that petrified people or beings take when they get turned to stone. Maybe, probably more than that, than whatever else I said before that. Petrification is tantamount to death, and in this sense, this knuckle ring is a charm that may save your life. It's very interesting there. Basilisks dropped the Eye of Death, and what did they do? They cursed you, which yes turned you into a crystal-like form, but one could say that was petrification in the first game, and in this game, did they also petrify you instead, or do they curse you? Because curse is also something you could be afflicted with, and we would have seen that if we went to the Shaded Wood, because there's certain laughing pots. Again, more signs of disembodied voices, and we talked about that, I think, last episode. Jesus, that drop. Right, that was too close. We see beings mummified, and their design is horrific. All that is available to see is their mouth, and it's as if their gums are bleeding, and through the bandages you can see their kind of rotting teeth. Their stomach has been carved open, and basically they've turned into a bomb. If they are able to jump and land on the floor, they will explode. And we'll see them later in other areas, but mainly in the Dragon Shrine. Great heal. We picked up a sorcery, didn't we? Sorry guys, I've not read that. So we picked up Whisper of Despair first. A hex that releases verbose darkness. Verbose darkness? The darkness echoes words of despair. And, pardon me, what have I just commented on? The disembodied voices. We can hear them now in the background. And on the topic of curses relating to, as I said, certain jars found in the Shaded Woods. Interesting. Anyway, reduces the defense of opponents. The dark blankets of the world. The dark blankets the world in black. A thing of the thing of tranquility. A thing serene. And this dark blanketing offering comfort is interesting. As light offers comfort to creatures of dark found in Shrine of Almana, but dark also offers comfort to those who are already of it, who are of undeath, who are already dead, and we will see that, or would see that, if we were to continue this series and play the game more, in the Undead Crypt. As if you produce light in the Undead Crypt, you will instantly be in trouble, to say the least. Great Heal. A glorious miracle only accessible to a small minority of clerics. Greatly restores HP. Only a select few have learned to recite this epic romance in its entirety, but those who do not are amply rewarded. Now, I can't remember from Dark Souls 1 who is the creator of Great Heal. I don't think Great Heal was a creator of Bishop Havel, and I can't remember if anything's mentioned in the original along the lines of an epic romance from the Dark Souls 1 description, but we've mentioned Havel, and now we find miracles. I don't know, just spitballing things here. Great Soul Arrow, we already found that. We already read that last episode. So we have two ways to go. We have the incorrect way, and we have the correct way. Of course, we'll go the incorrect way. Now, I mentioned these guys last episode, and these are the Scion Knights. Their armor is to commemorate a certain warrior who, due to his victories, was rewarded with an armor exactly like this, and he quickly went mad and died in battle, got basically obliterated by giants. And of course, these are soldiers of Vendrick. Again, we'll find these later in a certain Undead Crypt. Interesting. On their shield can be seen, presumably a sun, but a face in the middle. Solaire connections, maybe. Gwyn connections, maybe. Something entirely different, perhaps. Maybe that isn't a sun, maybe it's represent roots, trees, something else. Just really cool. I remember farming their armor a lot. We can also see on their chest piece, the kind of underskirt, if you want to call it that, is of scales. And you'll see this a lot in the attire of Vendrick's knights of the upper class. You see it in the helmet of the Dranglake set. The Dranglake helm on its back to cover the neck also has scales, while on the front of the headpiece is a crow. Is like a crow and its beak. So that's interesting, because one of the right hand and left hand of Vendrick were his two knights, most trusted knights, and on the left I think it was Velstadt, and on the right was Raim. And Raim, as I mentioned last episode, his kind of symbol is the raven. So interesting points to make there. And Raim relates to the Old Iron King and that DLC, as he defected basically. But yeah, Velstadt, I love fighting Velstadt. I love that boss fight. I love him. I just love everything about that. The music, Velstadt in general, the location you find it in, the cinematic, it's great. But anyway, let's kill him. Kill this dude. The power stance. Did he drop something? Oh, he did. Oh, no way did he drop it. That is very lucky. Like, that shouldn't happen. I've always had to farm for this, and now it's just been dropped. Super cool. Super cool armor. Again, on my first character, this is the first armor like I actually went out the way to farm. Replica of the armor of the loyal knight Scion, or Saiyan, however you want to say that. This solidly crafted gear offers high defense. Sir Scion was widely known as the kingdom's most leal knight, and when the giants invaded, he volunteered to lead the advance party, but was slaughtered most dishonorably. The Knight commission, the King commissioned replicas of Scion's accoutrements and bestowed them to promising knights. But not long after they donned the armour did they go thoroughly mad. So it was the knights who donned the armour, not Scion himself, who went mad. So that's interesting. How now, is that due to what it was made out of, or because, yeah, that's interesting. Did they go mad due to Scion and his fate? Did Scion somehow haunt the armour which was then donned by these, chosen knights, these promising knights? Or was this armour created with a certain something and contained a certain something that made them go mad? Like, what's going on there? As we've talked about ores and souls and how they relate, it's just interesting. Why did they go balmy? Yeah, that's really cool. That's really, really cool that I actually managed to get that. Because as I said, that's usually pretty rare. Sublime bone dust. Now this gives us a little hint on the times before. You can see I've always taken this as the actual picture of it. Of course, you can see the ash through there in kind of either, yeah, just like a husk, like a dried out bone. Again, the name is bone dust, but maybe it's just a container like a fabric, and ashes and unbridled ash and all that stuff can be found in Dark Souls 3, of course. Charred ashen bones. Cast them into the far fire in Majula to increase the HP restored. Again, ashen 1, blah blah blah, Dark Souls 3. With each use of your flasks, to increase the HP restored with each use of your flasks. They say these are the remains of a saint who cast himself into the bonfire, but we will never know for sure, for soot and ashes tell no story. Well, Dark Souls 2, that's a lie, because Dark Souls 3 happened and ashes did go on to tell a story. Anyway, a lot of people took this mention of saint to be Gwyn, because of course the Way of White, Gwyn being a lord, the religion, blah blah blah. But I don't think that's what it is. It just, you can imagine whoever lights the fire and sacrifices themselves is then remembered and honoured and worshipped and talked about, and basically is referred to as a saint. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's what it is. As by the time we get to Gwyn in Dark Souls 1, no one really thinks of him as a saint. The worship in Gwyn and the Age of Fire has very much been removed from Lorethrough and is now really centralised in Thorland under the command of All-Father Lloyd. He's kind of became the new figurehead of that religion. Do you know what I mean? People only go to Lorethrough to pillage it or to enact a prophecy. As I said earlier, and that prophecy is speculated and thought to be relatively new, but made to sound old. Right, so we come to this fun part. Due to how the light works in here, you may think, I mean, look, there's clearly shadows being casted, but there is actually there's no light to be seen, so that's just really interesting. Be careful, as I have actually somehow died when dropping down these little segments, just due to taking so much damage from doing it consistently. I'm not paying attention. I've ended up killing myself, so just be careful. Help me, this person says. Nice job, thank you. I think one of these ladders is your end. Is it this one? Yeah, well, not your end, but it causes you to drop like that. Token of spite. Where does that live? Why am I not seeing it? Am I being blind? Is it that? Oh, rat tail. We need to. Right, it's that, but we need to read this. A severed rat's tail. Demonstrate fidelity by offering it to the Rat King and strengthen the bond with your covenant. The Rat King is proud and merciful, as any king true to his stature should be. The Rat King looks favourably upon those who follow the path of right, even disgraceful humans. And I suppose I didn't even talk about how the rat's talking is sentient and able to communicate with us and understands a language of humans. But again, if you're familiar with Dark Souls, and even in this game, animals speaking shouldn't be alien to you. But why their disgrace against humans? Why the disgust of humans? What caused that? Is it kind of a case of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Did radioactive... Do you know what I mean? Like, did we cause those rats to grow that large due to, I don't know, our waste, our meddlings in some things? Or is that just a large race of rats? Or did they feast on the corpse of humans and by ingesting souls and, I don't know, humanity, they became bigger? Like what I speculate about in Dark Souls 1, the reason why rats are so big is because they ingest souls and humanity, and of course that has an effect and grows them. And makes them grow, should I say. Anyway, token of spite. Token recognizing that the power has travelled. Fucking, what is actually wrong with me today? Token recognizing that the owner has travelled worlds to defeat others. When used, you are more likely to summon invaders from other worlds for a period of time. Simply carrying these tokens shows the bitterness of the grudges the holder has accumulated. And again, theme of red. We see the token of spite is red. And of course, it is a reward for invading, except for this. Red token is wrapped in black fabric. Connections to be made, potentially, to the dark race. A lot of people have died. A lot of bloodstains. Okay, now comes the fun part, guys. And I will, of course, quit this. Here we see more of those statues. Oh, fuck. And some spit poison. And their placement should be no mistake. They are all facing outwards. Oh, you little bastard. And I believe that goes into the gulch. Or maybe not. But if it is the gulch, which is the next area, then again, that implies a lot. You can destroy them. If you don't wish to get... Fucking hell, if you don't wish to get poisoned. But we have now reached the gutter. Oh god. Wow, that really hurt. But you can hear this horrible sound. It's almost like a heartbeat, but it's not. It's liquid from above oozing down below. And here we start seeing similar living conditions to those who chose Blighttown as their home. Well, I don't think they chose it, but were forced. And unfortunately found their way into Blighttown for whatever reason. The gutter kind of mirrors that whole design of people being forced from below, from above, and scratching out a living down in the earth and living off whatever can be found and what has flowed from above. God, Honestly, it is actually getting worse the last couple of days. I don't know what it is. I actually don't know what it is. I'm concerned. And we get the bonfire. Now, it is advised to light a torch. The upper gutter. And this is because, as we saw just over there, there are little sconces you can light, and if you notice, they are of the statues with their head removed. So again, that implies a lot, that the people below, or the people who made the gutter their home, don't necessarily worship whatever this woman represents. We see many things in these pillars of trash. Again, huge stone pillars, these stalactites, stalagmites that have formed together over however many years, and now trash all surrounds them, and they are used as pillars for garbage. We can see funky very interesting textures there, clearly a woman's face. Amongst many other remains, chairs, tables, and somewhere in here is a tire, as these are just textures grabbed you know, from wherever they had wherever these got these textures from software. There is a Heineken bottle buried somewhere within this mess. And again, that was funny to listen to, people being like, Heineken is now officially part of the law. I don't know if they removed that in Scholar. Oh shit, yeah, I forgot about this. Again, undead. Force from above. Welcomed below. Have made these shacks to live in. Their beds are just simple, thin pieces of fabric. They do, however, have chairs and tables, and even, it seems, sacks of questionable food. But you see the state of these people, they have long gone hollow. But all this gives an indication that, you know, they were once more sane. But as you can imagine, much like Blighttown, living in these conditions will take its toll on the mind, and eventually you may crack because of it. We are not the only one to carry light in the dark, but it seems that light, although these are sconces, and if you notice, we are burning bones, not wood. Bones. Again, that's interesting. No one seems to light these sconces, they only seem to carry the torches. I don't think you get a reward from lighting all of them. I don't think you did in... No, or do you? There is an invader, and I can't remember if that's brought about due to light or due to light or due to being human in this area. But there definitely is an invader. Poison ahead. Now here we see a very interesting door, and this pattern on the door we will see later. Who just spat at me then? Whoa. Oh, it's coming through the door. No way. We will see later. But it's not a fully formed circle. There is something else going on there, but again, circles, not the first time we're seeing this, kind of relating to this area and the areas connected to it. But really interesting, different stone to what can be seen. Implies it is older than, of course, the scaffolding around it. So these people came across it, they discovered it. So it has been down here for many an age. And what is found in there is Havel's armour. Again, we spoke about Havel. Because of this, again, leads people to believe that Harvel's resting place is of course Havel. Just his name has been kind of forgotten, and has turned into Harvel due to the passage or passing of time. I will say in this area, due to attacking enemies and hitting statues, definitely bring some repair powder, because you will need it. Chest ahead, they say, honestly. But you know, these hollows couldn't have made this. I mean, well, what I mean by that is in the state that they are now, of course. So again, this all, as I said, indicates that people were more whole and more sound of mind when they created this, because although this is made of simple materials, you know, pieces of wood that have came from above, that have flown down the streams, and that people have dumped and left and discarded, you know, to create these structures, and for them to be, you know, mostly sound, structurally sound, is still impressive. Dark Pyromancy Flame. Now I'm going to keep an eye on that which lives in there, but let me read this first. That's not where it lives. Where's Dark Pyromancy Flame? Is it not here? Here. A flame catalyst used by pyromancers. Pyromancers rouse this flame to produce various fire arts. The flame rewards those with a thirst for power. The more hollowed one is, the stronger the effect. The stronger its effect. So we see this item again. It could be upgraded to the Dark Pyromancy Flame in Dark Souls 1 if you plus 15 the original flame. And Dark Pyromancy pulls from humanity in the first game, I believe. Or does it pull from the fact you are hollow, much like this one? Because Chaos Pyromancies also, and Weaponry, also pull from humanity as well. They do more damage depending on your liquid humanity held. I can't remember the mechanic, but in this game, the more hollow you are, the more closer to undeath, the stronger the pyromancy. So interesting, we find creators of light, manipulators of light, casters of light in the dark. And of course, that type of pyromancy flame relies on its caster being more hollowed, so real no better place than here, as these people certainly, you know, certainly weren't ones who bore rosy cheeks. Anyway, these corrosive urns, which is what they are, I've always thought these to represent hearts, and these kind of things on top to represent arteries. So corrosive hearts, is that what it's implying? What does that mean? Does that relate to anything or anyone? Why do they exist? Did the people here create them? Why are they storing them? Does it relate to the statues? And we see a huge dog. Again, is this a result of kind of feasting on the undead? And is it a result of mutation? Much like the inhabitants of the Blight Town from Dark Souls 1, their condition can be concluded from their environment. You know, due to their environment, they turned into nasty, horrible, man-eating ghouls and barbarians. Now, as you can see, they hit like a truck, but we are like carrying one weapon, and the intended kind of mechanic and play style of the original Dark Souls really only exists in the gutter. You know, the whole game, well, not the whole game, but large parts of the game, in original concepts, the player was thought to be carrying a torch to light the dark, and they were really playing with that concept. But unfortunately, as I said, the gutter is the only existing place where we really get to have a feel for what once was. But just interesting, back on the corrosive urns, like, you know, due to them being placed way up here on these pre-made structures, one can only think that it was the undead that called this place home, that created them. And their treatment of these statues, beheading and using them as sconces. Again, corrosive hearts, beheaded woman. Something to think about. Up we go. So yeah, it is, I will say, it's very rewarding. And again, something I'm not pointed out, you'll see they are actually worshipping the sconces. I don't know if I've mentioned that yet. But they are worship, oh fucking hell. Dark Souls! They are worshipping them when they are unlit. So are they worshipping the dark? Are they worshipping the beheading of the woman? I can't say for certain. What time are we on? Oh. Oh, it's a bit... I haven't got long left, to be honest, guys, as I have actually got a bit short on time, unfortunately. As I have got this edited, I've got to get this uploaded, as tomorrow I am leaving. As some of you may know already, that I do work away from home. My job requires it of me. And tomorrow is that day, unfortunately. So rather annoying, guys. We may not be able to get the gulch done. But the gutter, yes. The gulch, no. Which is a shame. But the gulch is easily another hour and a half of gameplay and chatting about everything that's in there. So, you know, I've got to get this rendered, got to get it uploaded, as it's already 9:30 at night, just to give you some context. Jesus, what the fuck? Again, Torch Hollow's hitting like insanely strong isn't something new, but you'll see actually the reason why he hit us so hard is because his weapon is imbued with dark. I think he's put it, yeah, see there? His weapon has an aura of dark around it. Very interesting. Is this a result of just living in dark for so long that dark can attach itself to certain things? We've seen that same style of, well, same type of aura on Malentia's hands, which again I've pointed out many times now. Maybe Malentia's from the gutter, I don't think she is, but... And of course we see the woman hanged. So yeah, they despise whoever this woman represents, or they did despise her. And now they worship her death, as we've seen them pray to the destroyed statues. It's a trap. And we see this black liquid, this heavy, thick liquid, sat in many spots in the gutter. And if we were to go in the gulch, we'd see it again. And from this liquid are these horrible creatures, these serpent, eel-like creatures, an open hand, and in it is a mouth. How many? Well, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it has a bit more than 5. Well, 4 fingers and 4 fingers and 1 thumb. But could it be a hand? No, it has 5, doesn't it? No, it has 6, you idiot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it has 6. Right. God, terrible. So, is this a result of the dark? You'll see with our torch, just by rolling through, we've set this alight. And by doing this, those things actually can't spawn out of there, I think. I think they can only happen once. But it creates another source of light, interestingly enough. So the fact that we are able to ignite it, does that mean this is oil? If you remember, Manus's soul was described as a viscous substance. Something along those lines. And you could really describe oil in the same manner. So is this, again, just kind of liquefied forms of humanities? We've seen dark on weapons, so interesting that dark is taking many forms. Now, is this all the result of being enveloped in dark for so long, or did something put it there? Oh, I was supposed to check out the base of these statues, wasn't I? But they are all muddied on the bottom. Now, do these also have that similar texture? Oh, this one's actually upside down. No way, we smashed this one, but the head is actually on the base as well. You see? That's interesting. Not realised that before. Sorry, I keep... This beer is repeating on me. This wasn't a good idea to drink beer and record. Come on, guys. Again, we see these prisoners, but their stomachs are not filled with that exploding substance, but they can still do damage to you. But their explosion won't be as large. This hollow also holds a weapon kind of imbued with darkness. Oh my god, my sword went right over his head. Just really interesting. Really, really interesting. So let me know what you think, guys. Is it a result of being exposed to dark for so long, or has someone made the weapon, imbued it purposefully? Has someone made the puddles purposefully? What's going on? Now, we are undead, so we won't get... We turn back to human. We should get invaded. If I like this, am I right in that? Yes. Melinda the Butcher. And again, Blighttown-esque area. We get a butcher invading us. There she is there. Ring of Soul Protection. We shall read that once we've defeated the invadee. Or invader, should I say. We are the invadee. Come on, Melinda. She holds... What axe has she got? Is that just the... Was that the... Oh, fucking hell. Is that just the normal great axe? She has the hollow set, which increases... Well, the headpiece, I think. Oh, no, no, no. The chest piece? One of the pieces increases item discovery. Could have knocked her off then. I've forgotten if she drops anything. We are quick, or quicker to the draw, because that is a very slow weapon. Shit. You fucking knob. Oh my god, I nearly went into that then. Dark Souls. I hate the jumping. I just hate it. Hate doing it myself. Hate when it happens to me. Because it's just so unpredictable. Aha! So just really interesting and unique invasion spawned from the lighting of sconces. Gifted with the human effigy, of course, so no, unfortunately, no butcher's axe. Or butcher's knife, should I say. Just really cool. Did I miss a chest? Oh no, okay, that was just 2 pots, sorry. Rest of the bonfire. And if you remember, of course, that platform there was where we dropped originally. Because I did try and get over there. I thought you could go over there from that angle. But you can't. You have to fall back on yourself. Yeah, just a really, really cool area. Like, there's a lot going on in the gutter. And I know it's some people's favourite. Melinda. Again, why is she the butcher? Did people down here like Blighttown also? Well, not like Blighttown, but you can probably presume they also did. But people of the depths had definitely a fetish for the man meats. So, you know, does Melinda imply that everyone kind of, well, some people partook in eating of flesh, of human flesh, to survive? Because, you know, you won't get much nutrition flowing from above, would you? The only nutrition, if any, would be found in your neighbour. Like a truck, mate. Like a truck. Ridiculous. Of course, I went for the heavy attack there, so... Oh, piss off, game. God. Could block with a torch, but that would literally do us no favours. Thought they were facing the other way, but no. Is he alive? Oh. That was a hidden enemy. I didn't mean to do that. You know, why are they hidden? Like, we only know of crystals and crystal lizards to be able to disappear. So why are humans or undead really able to do this? Like, what is that about? And they carry smooth and silky stones, so what does that imply? If anything. Do you see how shit the plunging attack is? Oh my god. I usually just ignore this dog, honestly, at this point. I just go like this. And I get poisoned. Oh, I didn't actually get fully poisoned there. Usually I do. Wow. It's all coming up Millhouse. You know, such a huge place. Like, a huge place. Oh no, it's a dark man. Like, did any of the corpses from Medulla survive and somehow ended up here, you know? That's fun to think about. More of them, here they come. Can you imagine that? Not being dead, but, you know, unconscious. Either been killed by someone and thrown into the pit and somehow survived. And you wake up in this awful place with probably people looming over you, frothing at the mouth, thinking, you know, here's the next meal, and you either pass back out or somehow gain the strength to fight them off. It's horrible. Oh, of course, Dark Souls. Oh, you don't know how many times that's happened. You don't know how many times I have been stunned and fallen off there. Home. Honestly, I can't believe you made that, and I nearly got poisoned to death. But we spoke about meat, and here we see signs of it. Pig, actually, or what I can only really describe as pig. So animals do find their way down here. And yeah, we made note of obviously the kind of sacks of you know, bread or I don't know what else. But they are eating. But it's interesting. And the subject of undead needing to eat, I think I mentioned in my undead pilgrimage. You know, is it kind of like a leisure, or do undead actually need to eat to survive? Down there we can see a fog gate, and that is our final destination. But don't worry, you can smash through... Which one is it? Is it here? Here. No, it's here. See how it's differently textured? It looks a bit more neater than the rest. Hey presto, you can smash through it. And we can descend. There's many, many, many ladders. We also... My leg is through the floor at that point. Oh, we actually chose to melee. That's pretty rare. See, it's not... It's very common for... I mean, they are broken, presumably straight swords or thief swords. Because you do get the broken thief sword. And I wish the broken thief sword could be made whole in the vanilla game. Because it's such a cool looking sword, even when broken. But anyway. So yeah, it's not uncommon. Look, here's another one. Weapon imbued with dark. Is it him that gives that weapon its power? Or is the weapon, as I said, already imbued with it? Does his hollowing relate to the strength of that weapon and its physical appearance? Much like the dark pyromancy. Dark pyromancy flame is strengthened when one is hollowed. Now, this questionable creature actually repairs your gear, I believe, if you hit it. Is that right? Does it repair your gear? No, I'm getting mixed up with something else. What does this steam do then? Does it degrade my gear? I've honestly forgot. But I think Luke Zulu the Witch did a video on this huge ant. Again, it's just strange. Like, it crawled in here. We can hear a heartbeat as well. I'll shut up. And do the people worship it? So insects have been mutated, maybe due to the living conditions, or was this the natural state of this thing? It emits this white, clear smoke. I can't remember what it actually does. I thought it repaired your weapons. I could be wrong though. It could be like killing me in some degree. Because the thing that repairs your weapons is in the Shulver DLC. But anyway, and you have to attack that for it to repair. It's rather sad. Poor thing. But yeah. Was it size of an ant then transformed into this? Is it even an ant, if you could describe it as that? Look at its face. Look at its horrible face. But giant insects is not something alien to this game, as one of the bosses is a giant insect. But the way they became giant, or the reason they became giant, is for different reasons. But yeah, just cool. And you can see just all the runoff from above, slip and sliding below. Just horrible. You can imagine the smell in here, the feel, the air, the humidity. Damp, moist, stinks. Oh, it's just horrible. Horrible place to live. Still a better place than Blighttown, of course, because that is truly awful. But yes, I love getting poisoned. Right, there's one of these that leads you to a chest. I can't remember which one. Oh shit! Which one? Is it? Did that no? Is that an item though? Oh, I forgot. There's one over there. I think that one over there leads you to a chest. No, that's a dead drop. That's a short ladder. We need. Yeah, it's such a strange room, isn't it? Like, yeah, guys, let's get together and we'll build a room that lowers the ladders. Why not just one ladder down? Well, we all need to get down, don't we? So we'll make like 12 ladders down. Great idea, Nigel. you're now mayor. Oh, shit, that was, I should have rolled for that. I've decided against it. I think the chest is at the base, but I swear a ladder led you to a chest. Oh, horrible sound. He made the blow up sound, I think. Again, these what can only be described as prisoners, because you know they oh shit, you can easily die down here. Easily, very easily die. Concentration mode, guys. Concentration. Oh, another one's joining the fight. Oh, whoa, okay. Oh, he's cutting me off. You sneaky devil. This is horrendous. I want to light this sconce so I can go and power stance. Gotcha. Oh. I'd rather get burnt, honestly, game. Aha! The power of the stance. There we go. Oh, jeez. Horrendous area. I think, is the ladder up here or something? Did I come down this one? The ladder up here, what am I saying? The chest. Is this the one I came down? I think it was, wasn't it? Oh, it doesn't matter. I can't remember what the chest contains. It doesn't matter. We're moving on. Is it this one? Ah, it might be this one. Let's see. Yes. It's a repair powder. It's a great club. Again, finding great club in a place kind of filled with wood. We'll read the great club. A giant wooden club made from the branches of a towering tree, designed to smash foes, but simple but terribly effective against common shields. Clubs in these games are absolutely relentless due to their kind of pancake abilities. Just absolutely great. Enemies can't really deal with it. It's amazing. You get like, was that 30 life gems there, I think? Or like 25. Usually when it comes, when I pick that up, I can not actually pick the whole thing up. Yeah, 20. I always have to discard them because I already have like an absurd amount by the time I reach here. Anyway, a tactic to use, guys, is instead of hitting these and potentially getting corrosed to death, or all your items and gear breaking, just throw a knife. And there you go. That's what I do anyway. Oh, we need to throw another one. There we go. Oh, my stomach. My stomach. I need something to eat. I haven't eaten yet. Fragrant branch of yore. Interesting. A thing that has a... What is it described as? A sweet smell? A sickly sweet smell? Inhalation of the branch's scent. A faint sweet smell. And we're in a place that can only be described as a horrendous smell. And we find a great club. Said to have been crafted from a great tree or something. How was it worded? How was it worded? From a towering tree. And we find a fragrant branch of yore. Just interesting. Themes of wood. Oh god, roll. Okay, no, those don't shoot at you. So, we finally made it, guys, to the base of the gutter. And we can see our lights shining as if they are stars in the night sky. Just beautiful. We are in the Black Gulch. The poison illuminates this cave. Just beautiful. Like, just the contrast between complete dark, scattered with obviously torchlight, and then you get into the concerning glow of poison. Like, just really, really cool. Has it speckled in the distance, and even the statues, as we see, are able to spit poison, but now they are illuminating with it, or illuminated with it, should I say. Black Gulch, horrendous area, horrendous. Bling, bring plenty poison moss. There's also hidden secrets down below. You can actually see the door there. Can you see that? That pattern that we saw on the door that I said hides or holds Havel's armor behind it. You can actually see it there on the cliff face. I think that's what it is anyway. And that's because there are certain things forgotten by time, hidden away, tucked away in the bowels of the earth. But guys, as I said, unfortunately I'm tight for time, and I've got to get this edited and out and rendered and uploaded, as I'm going tomorrow, when the time of recording is now 10 o'clock. So with a heavy heart, that's it, gents, ladies and gents, pardon me. Let's get the akimbo out again. And I really need something to eat as well. I'm starving. So I just want to say thank you. This has been a great mini-series. I hope I've offered you some new insights. More importantly, I hope I made any sense, as I've really struggled with speaking these past couple days when recording these. I don't know why. Forgive me. It annoys me so much. So please forgive me. But yeah, I hope you had a very Merry Christmas. I hope you had a good time with your family. And I hope you just had a nice time, a nice chillax time. I hope I offered you some comfort. More importantly, please remember to like, and if you are new, subscribe. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And in honor of E&B, we're going to do the thing. It's the only way we can end this series. Actually, we'll end it in the way that he ended his Dark Souls 2 series originally. But first, I'll light this bonfire, because I intend to come back here maybe. So the way he ended his series was with death. He was the first person to complete Dark Souls without dying, and on his last episode he jumped off in Majula from the obelisk, and he got the achievement "You Died," and that was it, the end of the series. So E&B, this one's for you. Thank you for inspiring me and making me love these games all those years ago. And guys, again I say thank you, a very Merry Christmas, and I shall see you in the next one.